Hello, everyone. Such a great pleasure to be here on AI for AI conference. I thank UNESCO for the invitation. I'm really happy to share some thoughts with you for the next 10 minutes, and hopefully, I'll be there on the live discussion that will be held on the 26th of September. My name is Alexandre Levosi Sayad. I'm a Brazilian researcher. I will start here showing my presentation uh, because we have only 10 minutes, so I need to hurry and also to be precise on my presentation here. Hopefully, you can see it now. Uh, I choose a specific topic that's not very common to be discussed when we touch AI and information literacy, which is how to develop local AIs and believe AI as a global technology. Global is that a neologism, a new word it's a fusion of global and local. And I like to advocate, and I advocate AI as a global technology. It has some elements and characteristics that needs to follow up the global zeitgeist or spirit of the time. It's undeniable. If we look to the big tech companies, they act globally with their tools. The language, the English language, is the most used AI language to develop, to generate in AI, generative AI, or even to other kind of families of AI, we use English. But when you think about access to information, inequality of access of AI systems to get information and accuracy is also a matter of local cultures. Some accuracy and under, some understanding of concepts on AI generative depends on local context and not only in global context as culture. This is a definition that comes from anthropology to culture. So I'll give you some topics that we can discuss about how to develop local AI systems for the benefit of the accuracy of information and for the benefit also to the equal access to AI platforms. Okay, so moving forward, as I said, I'm a Brazilian educator, journalist, and researcher. I work as an advisor, like consultant for UNESCO in the field of media and information literacy in two offices. First one is Uruguay, in Montevideo, and the second one in Paris, the headquarters in France. I'm also a master's. I hold a master in AI and ethics. More precisely, critical thinking in AI. This is a book that I just released last year in Portuguese and this year in Spanish. And I host a TV show in Brazil about media literacy. Actually, I've been working with media literacy for the last 20 years. And AI and media literacy, they have a connection that's very strong. And I'm always underlining these connections in my speeches. I'm underlining these connections in my participations around the world. I choose this image to open my lecture. My lecture, not my talk. It's more a talk. That's a painting, from the North American painting Edward Hopper, where is a guy, a worker looking to anywhere, to nowhere, lost, a little bit lost with the US development in the 50s, the 40s, 1940s. And I choose this picture as a cover of this book, Artificial Intelligence and Critical Thinking, that's available for everyone. Because I think AI is giving us the same impression to the human being. We feel if you don't have the awareness and the literacy to understand AI and how to use it for the public good, we are lost. We get lost in fiction. We got lost in other fields of domination that is not a human agency. We need to guarantee human agency for AI. So this is the book I told you. Of course, when we talk about the development of AI, we talk, of course, about access to information. We talk about freedom of expression. We talk about cultural and political participation, and also of privacy. Those are hot topics. Those are ethical impacts where the artificial intelligence system does in society. We need to address with the human agency, ethics, and media and information literacy, all those topics. And they are not isolated, they cross to each other. And they are topics that need to be addressed in the global level, but also in the community level, stimulating the creation, the local creation of AI systems. I'll give an example how it's important to think about in a locally way. The Global Risk Report of the Economic Forum, Global Economic Forum, January, released last January, but misinformation as the first threat to nations for the next 2 years and for the next 10 years. It put the adverse outcomes of AI technology as the sixth most important risk to nations for the next 10 years. What brings us to understand that this is a global it's a global threat. You know, there are a lot of countries together in Switzerland, in Davos, to discuss the threats for economy, for society, for politics, for human rights. And we can see as a global thing, and we can see that all the spots of the threats are interconnected in this complex in this complex world. But at the same time, I encourage us to think, how can we make an AI that's more reliable, trustful in its governance, at the same time more connected to the real culture of the countries, if it's not also a local phenomenon? When we think about language, when we think about thoughts, when we think about ideas, we are always thinking from a local perspective of culture. Most of the AI in Portuguese, they try to emulate, when you ask some generate information, they try to emulate the English terms, and sometimes brings us an inaccurate result. So when we think about AI as a local phenomenon, we need to think about Yu Hui, this Hong Kong philosopher that thinks about techno-diversity. We must not depend to guarantee the human agency and the human governance on AI. We cannot be only based in a global level. We need to develop local technologies. Hui, in his book Techno-Diversity, he says there is there should be not only one unique technology, but what I call, Hui calls techno-diversity. A diversity cosmotechnics. They are different from each other in its values, epistemology, and existence. So, for example, in Portuguese language, we have now the first attempts to develop a Brazilian AI that brings us not only with the Portuguese language, but also with the Brazilian culture, the Brazilian art modernism, the Brazilian identity of nation, the Brazilian literature, the Brazilian books embedded on this system, trained with data from Brazilian data to bring us a more accurate information when we access this information. So Hui believes, and I believe too, that technology can set you free and humanistic too. All those ethical impacts, I can be 1 hour talking to you about AI ethical impacts, they can be addressed in the local level too. I'll give you one of those ethical impacts. I made a list here in my presentation, but if you think about representativeness in AI, it's very important. Ethnical, national, local representativeness in AI, it's important to think about the local basis. How can you gonna represent the natives, the indigenous population in AI results, generative AI results all around the world, the segregate populations, how are they be represented with AI, generative AI systems? This is how developing local AI system is going to enrich the global landscape of AI technology. I like to bring this example of this bands from Jamaica, from the Caribbean. They like to record their songs in the Caribbean because the Caribbean studios, they use the global software to record that sound, but at the same time, they make in a unique way, combining the Caribbean style, like timbalada or electro timba. They don't go to LA, for example, to record their songs because it becomes something more with an American face, or go to England, or go to Italy, or to Brazil. They like to record in the Caribbean to keep the sound original, authentic by that. This is a concept that I think is it's a very easy sample or example about techno diversity that we need to bring to AI. And of course, people need to understand how to access information that makes sense, is accurate enough for their own local reality. For that, the concept of media and information literacy that UNESCO defines here is very important. We need to educate and to train all citizens to be media and information literate, to deal with AI systems, and brings it more to the local reality and know how to access the accurate information. So what I believe, just to finalize, is a multi-stakeholder approach for a fair digital governance and valorization of AI development. We need to have governments that and big techs who believes in a stakeholder approach, brings the community together to decide the governance itself, and to encourage the local developers to develop their own AI. Brazil now has developed, the government is developing Brazilian AI to not only the startups, but the government itself is developing its own AI. We need to check it out how it's going to connect all each other. I suggest you to read the guidelines for the governance of digital platforms, where this concept of multi-stakeholder governance is very explicit and is very obvious to address, including the local culture. So let's keep the local culture alive with AI. This is my message. So those are my contacts. You can get in contact with me whenever you want to follow up this conversation. And I must say that it's really a pleasure to be with you, and I hope to discuss with you live. See you soon. Thank you very much.